Hi.
Hi, Farhan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you, Farhan. Thanks so much. Farhan, just a couple of questions. Just want to ask you some stuff. Even just in your lifetime, being a person who's grown up in India, what are the changes you've seen since the time you've been a kid to now when it comes to water shortage, and the problems that everybody's facing? And what really drove you to front this initiative?
I think like everyone else who's grown up in the city, we grew up in a time where we weren't very aware about the shortage of water. We weren't aware of how much is okay to use, how much is not. Right. We grew up in a time where we didn't really think about these things, nor did we have people or brands like National Geographic at that time here to let us know, that this is something that could be a problem in the future. So I grew up at a time where really, I wasn't thinking about how much water I was using. Yeah. Holi was played with water. Now we don't play with water anymore. We request people actually as a fraternity to not use water when they play Holi now. And similarly, in terms of just basic everyday things, you try and make a difference as and where you can. But that did take some learning, some educating, self-educating as well, and then of course reading and researching, and also people like National Geographic telling us about these impending shortages and about being very, very careful about the usage of water. So there has been a change over the last 20-25 years just in terms of the habits, because I think eventually it all comes down to a habit. Correct. I think what you do when you have a shower, how many times you like to wash your car, how do you leave the tap running when you shave or when you brush your teeth. These are habits, and if you can be made aware of them, that they can make a difference. If you just turn it off, that's something that if you can inculcate into kids and into people, it'll make a huge difference.
True. That's super true. It's just breaking small old habits. Some of them just weren't even addressed when we were kids, and now we've become far more aware of it. Now, also the water problem in India is no much limited to scarcity of water. That's an important but one aspect of it. What do you find as the most scary aspect of this problem?
Well, as Swati just said before I came on here, I think firstly the fact that there's 76 million people, who don't have access to clean drinking water. That's a huge problem. Yeah. The fact that 2025 there's going to be 2/3, is that right?
That's right.
Of the world's population that won't have access, that there'll be shortage. That's not very far away. Yeah. We're in 2017 now.
And we exponentially, even like all the critics, whatever they've said, we're jumping it much faster.
Right, we are. So if you just talk about it's 8 years away, which is not very far away, and it's a frightening prospect. So that's one thing that really should worry all of us. Because we may be enjoying our time here right now, but this planet doesn't belong to us. We have to leave it for generations to come. So there is that. And apart from that, of course, when there isn't clean water, there is then disease that spreads because people are consuming water that's not fit for consumption. And there's many issues related to that then go into just diseases with children, mortalities going higher. And then mass migrations as well, which can then put pressure onto other places. Correct. So many things, water affects everything. Yeah. So it's something that we should all be very, very concerned about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Swati, what was the main reason for you and for your network to have someone like Farhan aboard? Of course, everything I've noticed that he fronts or talks about, it's very personal. Absolutely. It's always something he follows through. It's without ever actually being preachy, which has been a great gift. But what is it for your network and you that you want?
Well, I think it was, everything that he said. And trust me, when we met him, it was, first of all, before we even met him, it was very clear to us that he embodied a lot of the brand values of National Geographic itself. We spoke about further. And just as a filmmaker, as a musician, as a director, producer, actor, and also a supporter of many causes himself, I think he absolutely fit into the whole brand ethos to begin with. And secondly, whatever he said was actually our conversation in the first 5 minutes itself. So I think when it comes to anybody coming on board National Geographic, you have to be a brand believer first. You have to be a cause believer, and that's something that we had a great conversation on right in the beginning. So that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And now I just want you both to please stay on stage, because apart from the pledge and to take action, we shall also be talking about that shortly. People also have the option to donate on missionblue.in. Please write that, missionblue.in. All proceeds from the donations shall go forward to WaterAid, which is a non-profit that has been working in India to improve access to water since 1986. And now I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Madhavan, Chairman of WaterAid India, and request Swati and Farhan to felicitate Water Aid Foundation Chairman. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Madhavan. Thank you, sir. Could we have a huge round of applause? Thank you. Sir, it's lovely to have you here, and I'm going to request you to please say a few words. Thank you. Yeah, this one.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. As a child, I grew up reading National Geographic. I'm delighted that my daughter grew up reading National Geographic. And so to be here as part of this is a great opportunity for me. I work with an organization called Water Aid. We worked in India on issues related to water and sanitation for the past 30 years. In the current year, we're actually going to be working in roughly a little over 1,300 gram panchayats in 24 districts in the country, also in a little over 60 slums in 4 cities, and in 3,000 schools. We primarily work on 5 issues. We work on rural water and sanitation, urban water and sanitation, looking at water sanitation hygiene in schools, water sanitation hygiene in the context of health, and lastly, to look at the implications of climate change on availability of water. We're delighted to partner with Mission Blue and National Geographic, and we're going to be part of a campaign called Mission Blue My School, where we're going to try and make sure that children in schools have access to safe drinking water as a consequence of this campaign. I just want to leave you with 2 messages. It's been talked about earlier. The fact is that while we're talking about 76 million people who don't have access to safe drinking water, that number doesn't actually tell you about the number of people who have unreliable access to water. There are a far larger number of people in this country who don't have guaranteed access to drinking water. And that's one thing that we need to keep in mind. The second is that we're in a country where our groundwater resources are depleting at a phenomenally high pace. We tend to take it for granted, and you want water, you use sink a tube well, you'll get the water that you want. We lose sight of the fact that we're depleting our groundwater. So a lot of our effort thus far has been on withdrawal. We haven't spent enough time worrying about recharge. And the last thing I wish to say is that it's a common myth. हमें अक्सर ये लगता है कि हम बच्चों को सिखाते हैं, हमें भूल जाते हैं कि हम बच्चों से कितना सीखते हैं. And one of the reasons why we've chosen to work with NGC as part of Mission Blue on working with children in schools, that children are very powerful storytellers themselves, like some of you here. And we hope that they will take back the message, and we hope that we're laying the seeds, in some sense, of a new generation which is going to look at water very differently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Farhan, Swati, I request you guys to stay on stage because thank you so much, Mr. Madhavan. And also, how many people here have heard of water footprint? Anyone? Hands up. Water footprint. Not the stuff you leave on the floor when you come out of the shower, which your parents tell you never to do again, and your wife and girlfriend scream at you about every time you have a fight. I thought this too, but it's a little different. In order to fully grasp the potential damage of our water footprint, we need to understand exactly how much water we actually are consuming and at times wasting. It was what Farhan was talking about earlier. It's breaking of a lot of habits and also becoming aware of the fact that we are dispersing water. So what we're going to do is I think Farhan and Swati both have taken the test for their water footprint to check. I'm just going to take mine now and just hopefully it shall go well. I'm going to calculate it. These are some questions each and every one of us should do. How do I bathe? This is a very private question. I would lie if I said bucket. I'll go with shower. Time spent under a shower, 1 to 5 minutes. There are people in the time which feels good. Each and every one of you must take this. And Farhan, I'm aware that you have calculated your water footprint already, yes, right? And have been honest about it, which is a little tricky when I'm doing it on stage.
Yeah, I wasn't doing it in front of all these people.
Oh God, this is just trauma. Anyway, and now, of course, we're ready for the step 2, which is the most critical part, which is the pledge, which is to reduce this for a larger impact. At this point in time, I'm going to request Farhan to, of course, take the pledge, and over to you.
Something went off. Can you do?
Yeah, can you just get us back on there?
Thank you.
Thank God you don't have a creepy screensaver. Family photo.
Thanks. Acha. So this we had already done, right? Okay. Next. Well.
Tricky.